Okay, good afternoon. Uh, Welcome to the end of your second week of your internship. Yay! Hope everything's going well with everybody. But our first order of business is that we wanted to present an opportunity for people who are new interns to ask some questions and hear from some interns who have been interns before with our program, and gain some of their experience and lessons learned. And so I want to introduce two of our interns who have agreed to tell you their stories and their lessons learned, and answer your questions today. And that is Hannah Bonine and Hayden Willette. Hayden, are you out there? Yes. Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Hannah.
Hopefully you can hear that.
Okay. So, and the other thing I want to say before we get started is that I confess, compared to you guys who have just been through more than a year of remote schooling, I am a total novice at Zoom. So feel free to tell me when I do something stupid, when you can't see what I'm doing or what I said, or I muted myself or whatever. So please jump in there, correct me, tell me anything you want. But I'm not here to talk about, I'm not here to talk to you. What I want to do is to help you hear from your peers. And to do that, I'm gonna let Hannah go first. Sorry, I didn't tell you that. But she's going to tell us a little bit about what her job was last summer in this program, and her general background and what she's doing now, and anything she wants. So if you're ready to get started, Hannah, just take it away. And I will ask everybody else to please, if you have some questions, if something she says triggers something, please write it down, think about it, ask her questions, because that's why we're here. So Hannah, go ahead.
All right, so as Peggy said, my name is Hannah Bonine. I just graduated with my master's in planning, policy, and management from USM. So I'm doing my second internship with the program as a postgrad this year. So last year I worked for the city of Saco with the planning and development department, and I did a lot of various things with them. They were working on a comprehensive plan update. And so I got to be a part of that process with them, screening consultants and talking about beginning stages of updating their plan. I spent a lot of time going through and organizing their large Mylar versions of site plans and other plans of that sort. A lot of time doing that, which I can speak more to later, which was interesting, but also very tedious. But a lot of intern things tend to be that kind of way. And I also did a lot of work with one of their GIS consultants, working on a project. It was a story map about all of the public parks and lands around town. So I got to go out, spend a lot of time out in the field, which was really nice for working an office job. I got to go out and go to all of their public preserves and parks and things like that and map them using a GIS app that we had, and then take pictures and write little reviews about them to then create a website to go out to the town for people to learn about, places they can go around town for both people who live in town and also people coming in during the summer as visitors and things like that. So it was COVID times, like the height of it. So we worked partially in the office, partially at home. So there weren't too many opportunities to do a lot of in-person things, as a lot of them are right now. All the meetings and the planning board meetings and things like that were all online. But it was still a great experience, and it gave me kind of a good dive into municipal planning and municipal government in a sense. This year I'm with the Land Use Planning Commission out of Augusta, and they do regional planning for the unorganized territories, mostly in northern and western Maine. So I got a good background in municipal planning, and now I'm at the state level doing things there. That's my spiel. Oh, Peggy, you're muted.
See, I told you. What do you think? Let's start with best and worst. What do you think was the best part about your internship last summer, and what was maybe the hardest or the worst?
I would say the best thing about last year was that it was my first time in that type of environment. So it was really good to get exposure to different departments, different people. I mean, I learned a lot about other departments within the municipal government, not just the planning department. But I also got to learn a lot about what day-to-day office operations were like. You learn about a subject or a content area in school, but you never really know what it's like until you get the day-to-day experience in the office. So that was definitely the best part. The worst part was not having that much to do. I think it was partially COVID related. They were in such a scramble figuring other things out. But there was a lot of downtime for me, which is what they filled with the organization project that I had to do, which was really just busy work, but ended up positively for them essentially because they had things more organized. So that was probably the worst part, is that I didn't have a lot to do all the time. So they said, here, just organize things instead.
Okay, great. So before we get to other questions or people's questions, I want to introduce Hayden, or have Hayden introduce himself, and then we can ask questions of sort of both Hannah and Hayden simultaneously, or in tandem. So Hayden, are you ready to tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. My name is Hayden Willett, and I am a senior at the University of Maine. I am working towards my bachelor's degree for mechanical engineering. And for the past 3 summers, I have interned with the Department of Veterans and Emergency Management under the Directorate of Facilities Engineering for the Maine Army National Guard. The Directorate of Facilities Engineering is responsible for the planning, construction, and maintenance of all Maine Army National Guard facilities across Maine. It's somewhere between 40 and 50 different sites. And a lot of my job is mostly around working with the construction and planning of these facilities. So something that I'll do often when I have downtime is insert utility bills for all these different facilities: electric, sewer, water, gas, natural gas, heating oil. And I'll insert that into a piece of software that we use, and we use that to run analysis on these buildings to see how they're performing. And this allows us a more objective view than using just cost, just looking at the cost of the utility bill. We also look at the energy, the therms, the amount, and that lets us know how we're doing across our facilities. Another part of my job is analysis, as I mentioned before. One of the more important things that we look at is going back to energy again, heat loss analysis. So my first year here as an intern, I did a heat loss analysis on 3 of our armories across the state of Maine. I did one for Norway, one for Waterville, and one for Augusta. Those are 3 different locations. And the basic idea behind it is taking the area of each of the walls and windows and the roof and the flooring, and then assigning each of those a value. Typically, the higher the value, the harder it is for heat to be pushed through that. And then from there, you can see how much you're losing. And the last biggest piece of my job is travel. Not so much last year because we had COVID and it was extremely difficult to get any field work in. But in my first year here, I went as far north as Caribou and as far south as Portland. So I got a lot of windshield time. And what's pretty cool about that is you get to go into these facilities and of course you have a job, right? Typically that's looking at the equipment that's on the roof that helps make the building run. And you get to go into other parts of the building, like the telecom room where they keep servers. But it's also important to interact with the users of the building, because that's really what it's all about. You're trying to make sure that the facility is comfortable and works for what they need it to be. Because if you have a lot of people in a small space and your HVAC system isn't working well, then that's going to cause some problems in terms of, well, certainly discomfort in terms of temperature. I mean, no one wants a cold room or a hot room. But also if you have a lot of CO2 in the room, then that can cause a safety issue. And so that's just one of the things that we look at here at DFE and just make sure that we're meeting the needs of the people that are using our facilities.
So Hayden, I'm going to ask you the same question. What was your hardest part of the internship, and what do you think was the best thing about it?
I'd have to say the hardest part was upkeep, in terms of learning all the analysis that I had to do. And there's so much information out there about what certainly my mentor AJ has to deal with, but we have a lot of other really, really, really smart people here, and they've all got their specializations, whether that be environmental, whether that be civil, whether that be mechanical. There's just all these separate disciplines, each having a lot of specialized knowledge for a building. And so I had to, over the past 3 years, take in a lot of information, as much as I could, to learn about how to be useful, because you can't insert utility bills very well if you don't know how to read a utility bill or what to look for. And a lot of it's just experience, but it certainly helps to have a mentor and other people who are willing to show you what you need to do. And then I'd say the best part, is going around the state of Maine to check out all of our facilities and make sure that they're running well and interacting with the people who use them.
That sounds good. Let me ask you both this, and you can answer first, Hannah. Is there something that you wish you had known when you first started your internship that you know now that would have changed something for you? Like, what do you wish you'd known going in that could have helped you? Anything like that?
I wish I would have known that in most cases, you're not being annoying if you're asking for more things to do. I found myself not asking for more tasks more often than not, because I felt like I was bothering my supervisor with having to have her come up with something else if I had finished what she had planned already. So I would definitely say not being afraid to ask for more things to do, which is definitely something that I've brought into this year. And off the bat already, I have plenty to do this year by using that tactic.
Hayden, what about you? Anything you wish you'd known going in that it took you a while to figure out, or would have helped you from keeping you from making mistakes?
Most certainly. That would be learning to be a sponge. You have to absorb as much knowledge as you can, whether that's asking questions, whether that's looking at what your supervisor or others around you are doing. Obviously, you want to innovate on that if you can and do it your own way, but it certainly helps to see what others who are in this profession have done beforehand. And it really just helps. Ask questions, look at what they're doing, offer to help with anything that they're doing, or ask them, why does it work like that? Because you're not doing rote memorization here. You're trying to add meaning to what you're doing and what you're trying to learn. So that way it sticks.
That's something that actually I'll just interject here. We hear that a lot from interns. At the end of the summer, we send out an evaluation and say, you know, what were some issues? What do you wish you'd done that you didn't? And overwhelmingly, people say, I really wish I'd asked more questions. So my encouragement to you all as you're starting out is, you know, don't be afraid to ask questions. Everybody likes to be asked about what they do and why their job is important. And, you know, it's only going to help you. So don't hesitate to ask people. And I think that was echoed in that document of advice from past interns that I sent out at the very beginning, is just ask, ask, ask. It'll only help you. What would you say is something that you should avoid? Hayden, I'll ask you that first. If you were talking to a brand new intern, what would you say you should, you know, don't do this?
I would say that the most important thing that you shouldn't do is go in with a closed mindset. And what I mean by that is you get in what you get out. If you go in with a closed mindset that you're not going to learn anything, or that this is just to get through the summer, or you just want to get something for your resume, you can go through the internship like that. But you're going to miss a large portion of what you could have gotten if you had gone in with an open mind and been prepared to, like I was saying before, absorb what's being offered around you. This is absolutely an opportunity that you should take advantage of and not waste it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Hannah, what would you say?
I'd say don't. What was the actual question? I have an answer, but
Is there anything that you would advise people to avoid as an intern?
I would say avoid being passive and being like a fly on the wall. When you're in team meetings or meetings, even if they're just with your supervisor, like don't be afraid to voice your opinions, give input, answer the questions that are being asked to other members on the team. You are, in a lot of cases, the youngest person on the team, and with that brings a lot of new knowledge of softwares, the world. So they should be welcoming and open to your opinions. So definitely don't be afraid to share those, because that will help you grow as well.
Absolutely. So I want to ask people, invite people to just chime in with questions as well. Sorry, you don't, just raise your hand and I'll turn it over to you. So don't keep your questions to yourself. So what do you do? How do you, again, at the end of the summer, many of our interns say that one of the best things that they got from their job was interacting with the people they work with. They were surprised by the people they work with and how dedicated they were, and just generally what great people they were, and they were really glad that they got to know them. And so how do you get to know your fellow workers when some of you are working remotely, some of you are working partly remotely? What is your advice for how to get to know your the people in your group or your agency. Hannah?
Honestly, I don't have much of an answer because I didn't really get to know the people on my team last year. They were very COVID safe in the office, so I almost never saw another person. We always communicated virtually, and they're also very busy, so there wasn't a lot of outside talk. So honestly, any answer would be good for me because I don't know either.
Hayden, what do you say?
Most of my internships over the summers have been, for the most part, in person. Even when it was COVID and we were following COVID safety protocol, we were still mostly in person. If I had to give any advice for the in-person side, eating lunch with people, like you can't see it, but over there, this is a multi-use space where we have a conference room and a lunch area where we'll all eat. And just establishing a sense of community when you're in person and office culture, being a part of that really, really helps. It's no different than school for the most part. If you hang out in your own little corner or cubicle, you're not gonna participate with any of the rest of the office. And in terms of online office culture, I haven't experienced this too much, but my advice would be to just, along the lines of, ask questions over email. Just try and reach out in any way that you can. Asking a question is a really good way to get someone talking. And besides that, maybe you could organize some sort of small event that follows COVID-19 safety guidelines. And that would be about all I could recommend.
It's true. Everybody likes to be asked about themselves. So if you approach a coworker and just ask them about what they do, nobody's gonna, everybody likes that. Everybody loves to talk about what they do and who they are. So that's a good way to just get to know your fellow coworkers, even if you have to schedule it over Zoom. But so any of you guys who are new to the program this year want to chime in with some questions?
Yeah, I have a question. This is more directed towards Hannah because
can you just identify yourself first?
Yeah, I'm Wilson Radulski. I'm working under the Maine National Guard in the same building as Hayden and Ben, who are also second and third year interns. And I'm working in the conservation department. And my director is Tim. I can't remember his last name because I only call him by his first name, but yeah. So I've been working here at the same time frame as everyone else since June 1st. I work on the third floor. These guys are down on the first. And we've just done some conservation work. We've went to a few different sites, National Guard sites around Maine. And just recently we put up some echolocation monitors to monitor different bat species, and it'll be going over. I'll be visiting it once a week every month. So that's who I am. That's kind of what I'm doing for at least the next month. We have a few different projects. But yeah, I have a question for Hannah, which pertains more to her because you obviously have a different job. He's working the same internship. So how did your experience with your internship help you with your new job? Was there anything specific that you wouldn't have done so well if you hadn't experienced your internship before?
Probably the main thing is learning from my mistakes of not interacting as much last year. Definitely this year I've learned to ask more questions, participate in meetings and everything like that. A lot of that has to do with the workplace culture that you have. It's going to be different everywhere, and I have definitely experienced that. It's like night and day between the two places. So some coworkers are going to be more welcoming, some group environments are going to be more welcoming, and definitely I'm experiencing that this year. So I'm more encouraged to speak out and share my opinions. But I'm definitely, regardless of that, learning from my lack of participation last year. And I have, first day I was asked, what other things do you want to do in addition to the 2 main projects we have given you? So I was not afraid to ask for those extra things. And I learned from last year the things that I was interested in. So I was able to tell my supervisor this year, I have had a little bit of experience with X, Y, and Z through either classes or through my time last year, and I want to be able to learn more about that. So it definitely gave me more exposure to different topics to be able to answer that question of what are you interested in, and it taught me what not to do in an office environment with interacting with your coworkers.
Great, thank you.
Another question? Caroline.
Hi, my name is Caroline. I'm the hydrogeology assistant for the DEP this summer. And I kind of just have a general question as to what kind of questions do you typically ask your supervisors or other people in the office to get to know them better?
Anybody want to answer that?
I can. So it's really, for the most part, no different than school. I mean, a lot of these people are older than you, true, but they're still people. They just happen to have jobs now. So the best thing that you can do is, especially if you're at a workplace environment, is to ask them about their work. I know personally with my mentor, if you get talking about any piece of engineering technology, solar panels, heat pumps, really anything that's related to facilities, he'll go on and on and on about what's good about it, what the Maine Army National Guard is going to do next. And it's just a great opportunity to get to know someone, is to ask them something that they're passionate about, which is, or at least a key part of their life. I mean, you spend 8 hours a day doing a job, you're gonna learn some stuff about it and have certain feelings about it. So I think that really that's a good in. And then once you're at that point where you're in a conversation, then the next best thing to do is to branch off into other categories if you'd like to continue the conversation and get to know them and build rapport. I know this past lunch I was actually talking with one of my other coworkers about just video games and movies. That's a very common topic over a lunch table, you know. So it's really no different than school, just with different people. I hope that answers your question.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you. I
sorry.
think that's a
Thank
great
you.
answer.
Couldn't find the unmute button for a second.
Anybody else have another question? Okay. So I want to do one other thing with this meeting and the time we have left. First, let me thank you, Hannah and Hayden, for talking with us today. Really appreciate it. I hope we haven't put you on the spot too much. And so what I want to do in the time remaining is address the other goal of this meeting and of future summer meetings, which is to create some networking among you interns and opportunities for you to learn from each other. So I'm going to put you out into breakout groups, and I'm going to ask you for 10 minutes to talk to each other, to introduce. So first, your first task is introduce yourselves, your background, your jobs, you know, your thoughts, whatever you want to talk about. Just, you can do like 1 minute a person. And the next question for you, so that's one, intros. the next one is, what do you want to get out of this internship beyond your job? And you don't have to have a set answer for that, but I want you to talk about programming. My question to you is, what kind of programming can we provide you that is going to be helpful? So, okay, I think everybody's back. I want to wrap up in a couple of minutes, but I want to hear back from you guys. I hope that gave you a chance to introduce each other, introduce yourselves to each other, and kind of just get a sense for who you all are and what you're doing, which is really across a wide variety of jobs. But so who could talk to me from that first group of that Christine and Caroline were in? And I'm going to let you think about that for a second. What I'm interested in is, we have 10 weeks remaining in the summer. We're trying to put together programming. I hope you've maybe seen that preliminary list of programming where you have a mixture of speakers on topics, which are not just, it's not going to be a lecture, it's really more of a discussion, and with a focus on people's careers and how they got to those careers and why, and then that mixed with opportunities for you guys to talk to each other. And I want to hear from you. What else? What's your priority? What would you like to get from us in the program? What can we provide? So can somebody in that first group, Caroline, Christine group?
I can kind of speak to what we talked about. As far as like the programming goals, we really just talked about potential networking opportunities and communication, and a desire to potentially have something on LinkedIn, potentially. Just anything that would help kind of promote long-term networking, not necessarily, Zoom meetings and meeting people face-to-face is a really great way to get to know everybody, but being able to keep our contacts in the long term. And we also had an interest in social media as well, potentially a Facebook group. Could be a more informal way to kind of chit chat back and forth, but those were mostly what we talked about as far as the programming piece. Anybody else can jump in if I missed anything.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let's hear from the second group, and that would be Emmett, Hannah, Mia, that group.
I guess I can speak. We didn't have too much time to talk about this. When the 1 minute warning came up, we were like, oh my God. But I think our general consensus was hopefully the potential for something in person, whatever that may happen to be. We were talking about how I'm pretty sure in the past there were in-person networking type events that you guys put on that all had to go obviously virtual now. So if there's the possibility for anything like that in person, I think we would have all been in favor of that.
Okay. Sorry about the timing there. Did you get a chance to do intros for every?
Yeah, we had just finished our intros pretty much, and then your 1 minute came up, but.
Okay, great. So something in person. How about the third group? Casey, Drew, Jake, Hajna.
Hi, I can share a little bit.
Great.
Hi. So Kimberly also mentioned a Facebook group would be a good idea. I believe Hannah said that there's trails in the Augusta area that are good for a hike if you're inclined to do so, but apparently there's also like some moths that cause rashes, so maybe not right now. Also, a few of us had, interests in environmental topics. Some of us our internships aren't very explicitly environmental in focus, but maybe some networking opportunities within the realm of environmental issues to kind of see how all those different areas sort of connect in the state of Maine, and, explore career opportunities in that field, perhaps. And that was about it.
Okay, great.
We talked about a similar thing, just maybe finding the overlap of industries and, communicating with people that are, doing something similar to what we're doing would be beneficial as well.
Okay. What about this kind of format? Like repeating this kind of format with a small group so that you're in breakout groups and talk to each other. Is that helpful? As opposed, I guess where I'm going is there's the Facebook group where you can post, and then there's the sort of the visual talking to each other. The preference for one thing over another.
I think, oh, sorry. I think that seeing each other face to face, if this is the only way we can talk to people right now, I definitely like this more than just talking in a group, like through chat. But I think being in a group chat would also be cool, where it's kind of like you can enter in it or say something at, any point during the week or something like that, have questions for other people or ask even how their internship's going or something like that. That would be a good idea too.
Okay, sounds good. So I think what I might do is send out a poll to everybody to present some options and get people's feedback. Hannah, yes, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's probably potential for kind of a hybrid between the two. Like if there was a Facebook group or something like that created, people could post various, intros or whatever they would like to post, and then people could create smaller groups off of that of similar interest. So then you could chat with either people who are doing similar things to you or otherwise, but it wouldn't be this whole big group thing.
Okay. Sounds good. I think we have to leave it there. I don't want to take up too much time. You probably need to go eat lunch. And so if you take a look at that document I shared on Google Drive for programming, I'm going to keep updating that. I do have a thing just like this scheduled for next week. Only you won't be listening to me talk. It'll be you guys talking to each other. So take a look at that and join us if you can. And thank you all so much for joining this afternoon. It's great to see you face to face, and I hope it's useful to meet each other. I think we started that process and we'll keep it going. So thanks. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.